Are you looking to get ready, be prepared, and transform your financial future? Then you've come to the right place. This is the Get Ready Money podcast with Tony Stewart, where Tony has insightful conversations with financial experts who are changing the way we think about money. Catch up on the latest financial trends and hear practical advice from Tony and his expert guests so you can build healthy habits that work. Be empowered with tips for implementing small changes that can have a big impact on your financial future. So sit back and get ready to hear from today's guest.
Welcome to the Get Ready Money podcast, changing the way we think about money. I'm pleased to be joined today by Parker Pursell. Parker is the president and CEO of eQRP. In this episode, we'll be discussing Parker's insights on how we change the way we think about money and finding financial freedom. Parker, welcome to the Get Ready Money podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Look forward to this conversation. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your origin story?
Yeah, so I was born here in Alabama, grew up on a 3,200 acre farm. We had a family business for about 110 years that was in fertilizer. So we started off very rudimentary in that and just kind of kept passing on in generations and acquired some land along the way. My granddad just was always entrepreneurial. My granddad passed that down to my father. And so we ended up taking our corporate headquarters out to our family farm, 3,200 acres. We ended up building a golf course on it to sell our product. And in 2006, we sold it for 9 figures. Now we were left with, some cash and what's next. And then from there, we ended up building a family business centered around hospitality, given that was a main core value and strategy in our previous business. We just built a hotel and built around the golf course. So we got an 81-room property and a bunch of other stuff out here in the South, one of the leading destinations here, which is cool. But that's where I got and learned a lot of my introduction into business and entrepreneurship. One of 6 kids, but graduated Auburn in 2013 in marketing. Went and left and worked with Chick-Fil-A for about 3 years. Thought I was going to go be an operator. And then, God has some different plans at times other than what I think is best for my life. And so came back to the family business when we were developing this resort and was there for about 4 years, served various positions, kind of took all the things I learned at Chick-fil-A and applied them to the family business and helped my father grow that. COVID hit, right? 2020, we all have a story there. Found myself unemployed for about 8 months. I went and pressure washed. I was cutting fairways on a riding mower, right? Really, it was great time for me to think and kind of figure out what I wanted to do next in my life, and found myself in finance about a year later and put my head down, saw an opportunity to help grow something. I'm not much of a, put me in a box and 9 to 5, just pencil push every day. I need to be moving around, solving problems. It keeps my mind engaged. And so when I came across this company, it was just the best fit and opportunity for me to help apply all my previous skill set to our founder to help him grow his business. And so, a few years later, I got the opportunity to now lead this organization, and it's been fun. So, or should I say, it's been my pleasure to do it.
Well, that's awesome. That's quite the journey and a little bit non-traditional for people in the financial community.
Yeah, background in hospitality, end up in finance. I don't know how you get there.
Well, I think that might be more important for people is that background in hospitality, because, I know with a company like Chick-fil-A, it's about serving and making the customer happy and have a good experience. And I think we miss that sometimes in personal finance, that it is, how our clients feel is important. And to make
it is. It's their perception is our reality. So, we're here to serve and serve others, not only the first mile, but go the extra mile for them. And to be quite honest, people miss the first mile in today's generation. They just are a lot of entitlement going on versus hey, I'm here to serve you. And typically, if you serve the individual well, then they'll come back more often, tell others about you, and pay full price. So it's like, why wouldn't you take that approach? Create a raving fan.
Yeah, I'm exactly with you on that, and I think it is about creating raving fans. As a business person, that's what you really want. Is you want somebody who's going to go out and tell somebody else about you, about your services or your company, wherever you are on that spectrum.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, so that's not only good advice for those of us in the financial services industry. That's good advice for all of us. Is create raving fans. Um, so, tell us a little bit, what is eQRP?
Yeah, so eQRP stands for Enhanced Qualified Retirement Plan. We are a company that is built around serving individuals in the self-directed retirement space. And what our mission is to help empower families to invest in the assets that give them the highest likelihood of success, regardless of asset class. So for us, the way we serve individuals is the traditional finance space is locked up, right? Like your 401ks, they're stuck, can't do much with them. And given the environment that we're currently in, right, a lot of people are losing confidence in traditional finance strategies, and they're learning more, right? Like education is very powerful because once you start learning, like, wait, like, why is my money not being put to work out in these other assets that provide a higher return? Therefore, if you don't know the questions to ask, or if you don't know the information, then you actually can't ask better questions. And so now I think people are just asking better questions, and they're getting control over that money and want to start putting it to work in Main Street assets. So that's our mission, is to help, empower families to take that control and go invest in the asset classes that make most sense to them, regardless of where it is. So if you're interested in real estate, if you're interested in crypto or private lending, whatever the thing is, like, our company is here to help assist them in getting that money out and then putting that money to work.
That's awesome. And I think you said something important that I want to highlight, that I often talk about myself, is you have to know the right questions to ask. If you don't even know the right questions to ask, you're not going to get the best answers.
Correct.
So, it's great that you're encouraging people from that avenue. Um, so why is it important for people to be self-reliant with their money?
Self-reliant. Did I hear you say that correctly?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about it like this. It's, if you're interested in being fed, that's one thing. But if you're interested in never having to rely on somebody to feed you, then that's probably more empowering, right? And so, same as with your money. If you show up every day looking to get a check and think that that's going to take you where you want to go, well, then sorry, that's probably not going to happen unless you just win the lottery. But if you start pouring education into your life and challenging paradigms that are being put in front of you, then that really helps you take more control, make better decisions with your money, and put that money to work in spaces that otherwise you wouldn't have access to. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. If you feed a man a fish, then he eats for a day. So think about it like that. Like, for with your money, you want to be taught how to do the thing, not be given the thing, because it serves you no better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. It's important to learn, and I'm seeing that theme already. With your philosophy and everything, is that it's all about learning and asking questions and being curious. And I don't think people are often curious enough about their money. They, as you said, they're passive when it comes to it.
Yes, it's
So
tough. It's tough because people want to passively get to the result they want, the least amount of pain possible. But it's hard. Like, learning a new skill is hard. Like, teaching yourself these things is hard. It requires work. It requires exercise. And when I say exercise, I mean putting your money to work. Uh, and it's uncomfortable. But when I think of the 4 years that I've been here, or almost 4 years been here at this company, it's been a lot of work, but I'm set up so much better for the future because of all the knowledge that I've been able to apply and learn, and, have opportunities to put money to work or lose money, right? I've been playing the game, so I've experienced the highs and lows of everything. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
well, that's awesome. So let's back up just for a minute to define a term. What is self-directed investing?
Yeah, so traditionally, self-directed investing, most people understand it, is in their 401ks. They say, oh, well, we'll let you self-direct, meaning you can just pick your own stocks in mutual funds or whatever. Like that's what people understand it in today's day and age. But I would argue back in 2020, when the world kind of blew up and people started asking a lot more questions, right? Is that this whole new term of self-directed investing in assets outside of Wall Street is now kind of the new hot thing. And so self-directed investing basically means in the retirement space is that there's tools out there where you can get control over your retirement dollars, and then you have control to go put that money to work in the assets that you know, like, and trust, not just, excuse me, traditional finance structures. You can still do that, but these vehicles allow you to move money into crypto, real estate syndications, or private lending opportunities, like whatever the thing is. So that's what true self-directing is it's not limited, it's just yes and.
That's awesome. So, with that as part of your strategy, that's where the education comes in because people aren't as familiar with that, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it's a confusing space. There's a lot of brain damage when people just even start considering what this option might look like to them. But our team takes all the brain damage out for the individual. So, it's very seamless. We have a process that we work with, thousands of people that, want access to that money, get control of it, and then they say, what's next? Well, not only do we help them get control of that money, not only do we give them all the tools they need to be successful, but we also provide a space for them to start putting their money to work in private opportunities that are out there that otherwise they would never see. But we just have a large enough community that allows us to give them everything they need to get from A to Z as quick as possible. And we broker all the education along the way from our end to help them. So we aren't advisors. We're more like, think of us as like coaches. So we don't tell them what to do. We just teach them how to do it.
I love that. Teaching people how to do it for themselves. I think that's what's often missing in the financial services community, is that we just talk at people
Yeah.
instead of helping them, going back, I even use that analogy about teaching a man to fish in my latest book. That was in my introduction, because I'm with you 100%. I think the other thing that you're talking about that's super important is that you're empowering people to take control of their money. And I think that's important is that we each have a responsibility to manage our own money. It's our money. Nobody, like you said, nobody's going to come along and save you
Nobody's
with
going
it.
to care about your money more than you. So, like, why wouldn't you want to like take control over that? Would you rather fall on your own sword or fall on the sword of somebody else? Like, the reality is you're going to be better off fighting your own battle than allowing somebody to do it, and you're still going to be mad at them. Like, but what they're taking the other approach, like having somebody do it for you, it takes away the learning opportunity, right? Because then you're just left pointing the finger at your financial advisor for, either something he did or didn't have control over, and you're just kind of playing victim, like, oh, woe is me, you did all this. It's like, or you could take control over that on whatever amount that you want to put to work, and then say, okay, like, if it's going to be me, if it's going to fall on me, it's going to fall on me. And then I'm going to, make that decision myself. So that's what we want people to do.
That's awesome. I love it. So, let's talk about fear for a second. Is how can people overcome fear when it comes to their money?
Oof. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of different answers to this, but for me, having a faith-based approach to this question, it's uh, in my life, and I'll speak from experience when I'm worried about money and worried about being provided for. There's an element to which you have to understand that, like, is it yours to begin with, right? Like, if we leave this world and we can't take it with us, uh, then was it ever ours truly to begin with? So I think first understanding your approach of what money is, like, it's a resource, it's a conduit, I think, for a lot of good that you can do, and it's also a conduit for evil. Like, we see it all over the place. But um, if you're scared about your money, I think first just getting a clear reality of where you are. Like, a lot of people just look at their bank account and watch money come in and out, and they never know where it's actually going, right? Uh, I don't know how many people are, listen or follow Dave Ramsey. I did early on in my career, and it's a matter of telling your money what to do. Don't allow it to dictate you. And so I would argue that most people are being dictated by their finances versus them dictating it, which drives a lot of fear. But if you know exactly what every dollar is doing that comes in and you're telling it what to do, it actually cuts away a lot of anxiety and fear. So that would be my biggest piece of advice for somebody is get clear on your reality and what's actually happening, not what you think is happening.
I love that. And I think it gets back to your whole approach is about the education. Because the more you know, the less scared you're going to be of any situation. It's, I wouldn't advocate somebody to skydive because personally, I'm scared to jump out of a plane.
Yeah.
But once you know more about it, you can say, well, maybe it's not that risky. It's probably riskier to drive to work than to
It's
jump out
so
of an airplane.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because I use that analogy all the time when I'm explaining risk to people because they're like, well, this way is risky. And I was like, that doesn't actually make any sense. Like all risk is the absence of experience. Therefore, like an experienced skydiver doesn't look at what he does as risky because he's done it 100,000 times. But for the first person getting up there, they may be like, this is really risky. It's like, well, yeah, but you're doing it for the first time. Like everything's got risk. Or when they say, oh, the stock market's just not as risky, I was like, of course it is. It is the rug can be pulled out there equally as much as it can be pulled out under another asset class. You just don't have the experience investing in the other things. Therefore, you're assessing risk to a lack of experience or what you don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we can talk about the stock market another time, but I'm with you on that. Yeah, it can be very risky. So let's switch into the get ready money questions. The first one is, what basic money concept do you wish people knew?
The importance of giving. Um, I think when it comes to money, oftentimes we're looking at how we can serve ourselves instead of serving others. And there's a lot of joy that can be found in looking for opportunities to bless others. It's a fundamental thing that I've learned in my life, which has not only opened up more resources in my life to do more, but also I just think you get to enrich others. And so, when I think of just a money concept is people think about giving, but they don't actually apply that in their strategy for working with money. It's like, oh, it's just an afterthought versus like, what if I take this approach and how much more space could this open up in my life? Which has allowed me to not only be more creative, think more creatively, but it's brought more resources in when I take the giving first approach first, not last. And it's given me more joy. So that's something I wish more people took advantage of and thought through for themselves.
Yeah, well, and I'm with you 100%. I think sometimes people miss that and that also gets into helping with your values and everything, and taking, as you talked about earlier, a service-oriented approach to life and to your work. Um, so, what is one simple thing people can do each year to set themselves up for financial success?
Get a clear picture of your reality. Like, every year, just look at what you spent your money on, right? Like where your money's going. Always assess because your values change and things you care about change throughout the course of the year. And oftentimes, if you don't have like level setting time set aside for your life, for your money, then it's like looking at a P&L 6 months later, right? Like you're making a decision that could have been done that month to change course versus like staying frustrated about not knowing but wanting to do something else. So I would incorporate that every single year is take a day to sit down and look at where you spent all your money, uh, and even assess like trips you went, like all the things where your resources go, and then say, what do I want this next year to look like? Like build your values. And if they're the same, cool, but they can change, and then align your money around your values and your decisions that you make for the next year.
I love that. Align your money around your values. And, that also gets back to what you were saying about giving just a minute ago. is, you can live your values with your money. And as you pointed out earlier, money is a tool to help you do that. And that's all it is. So what is one simple thing? Oh, wait a minute, just ask you that one.
You're good.
Uh, what is one habit that people can change when it comes to their money?
One habit. Think before you spend. Like credit cards and debit cards and the card itself, like people just go and they do without thinking. Like sit on decisions, big decisions, even small ones, like, you know, 10, 20, $100 purchases throughout the month, although may feel small, they add up. And if you aren't actually thinking about what you're doing, I'm not saying don't do it, but like take a minute to step back and think about what you're purchasing or why you're purchasing it. Like people get emotional, and I'm the same, right? Like when I'm sad or down, like you either, like for me, I like ice cream. I love ice cream. And it's like an emotional connection for me. And if I have a diet that I'm on, or I'm trying to like physically set myself up for success, and then I've had a hard day and I get to the end, I think, oh, ice cream makes me feel good. Therefore, I'm going to eat a massive bowl of it. And I do it without thinking. And I'm like, wait, why did I do that? Like I just completely destroyed, my plan for the day. So the same concept goes with people and their money. Like, make sure your emotions aren't driving your spending, but you're using a little bit of logic going in, being like, okay, I'm going to do this because of X, not because I'm not thinking and it just makes me feel better to swipe the card.
Yeah, no, that's awesome advice. And I think what you said there at the very end is really important for people to understand is make sure your emotions aren't driving your spending and your other financial decisions just in general is, make an analytical decision, rather than just that emotional reaction. We often think, and that's what marketing is designed to do, to spark an emotional connection like, hey, you need this because this is going to make you cool or this is going to make you feel this way. And
Yeah, it's
instead of saying, hey,
the concept or the saying, when emotion is high, wisdom is low. So think anytime that you've ever been highly emotional, are your decisions really sound, or are you like, oh man, I should have stepped back and thought a little bit more through that, right? Like all wisdom is knowledge, and it is experience evaluated, right? So, if you're not taking time to slow down and apply that wisdom, then and your emotions are running pretty high, then I don't make as good of decisions when I'm hyper emotional. I can tell you that for a fact.
yeah, I'm not sure anybody does, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who can prove the exception to the rule.
Gandhi,
So, yeah, there you go. Um, what money myth are you trying to break?
say that one more time.
What money myth are you trying to break?
That the myth that you can't get to where you want to go by yourself. I'm not saying go alone, but the traditional system teaches you that you have to give control to somebody else to get to where you want to go, because I'm a financial like, and I'm not poo-pooing on financial advisors, right? Like they serve, but if you take the approach that this is the only way that you can do it and you don't have what it takes, like then that's a false myth. Why? Because I know it to be true in my life. Uh, for me, we exist to empower these families and people to be able to break those financial shackles, right? To teach them about these assets that make the most sense for them, regardless of the asset class. Therefore, the myth that you can't do it yourself, that's completely false. And that's why our company exists. Is because it's false, because we're doing it ourselves and we're doing it outside of the traditional system. And we're just giving you all the tools and resources you need to be successful on your own.
Well, I think that's important is that you need the right tools and resources to do it on your own. That
Yeah.
it's one thing just, so don't follow the latest device on TikTok. You know, that's
Yeah,
not
no,
going to give
for
you the
sure.
right
Don't do that.
resources and tools. So
Well,
it
and
may
two, I'd
sound good.
say like for us, I speak in analogies. It's just an easy way for me to communicate. But we're like Samwise Gamgee on Frodo's journey, right? Like he's the one that has to do the work. He's the one that has to take the reign. It's his mission, right, to deliver this thing. But he needed a companion. Like he needed help. He needed people, someone to be alongside him. And that's the approach that we take. We're like, we're battling, we're fighting for our friend. Like we're going to take shots for him if we have to, but only he can do the journey. We're just there to help. When he turns over and it's like, hey, I need you. We're like, we're here to help. What do you need us to help you with?
Well, I think you came back to what you said earlier that's super important is we have to do our own journey. We can find help on the journey, but our journey is our own journey
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And I think the best advisors are the ones who are like Samwise Gandhi, if I remember the name correctly.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
And there's lots of them
that
out
help our
there. Like,
friends.
yeah, there's a lot of great, like my family, we've walked with our financial advisors. I'll even call them out at Ron Blue. They work in Atlanta. And they have walked a hard journey with us. There are good people out there that are existing to help get you to where you want to go, however it takes. So, they're out there. I'm not saying that whole industry is bad, but they've been great for us.
Yeah, and I think that's a reminder for all of us, whether we're in financial services or not, is to guide your clients, help your clients, but let your clients be the ones who bear the responsibility. You'll get a much deeper connection with your clients over the lifetime, and that's what you want to look for as a consumer in working with an advisor, somebody who's going to help you reach your goals and empower you. So, Parker, let's get out the time machine for a minute. What advice would you give your younger self if you could go back in time knowing what you know now?
Oof. Um, Knowing what I know now, I think I would have taken more risk. I was very risk averse growing up. There's a lot of things that if I could go back and do it all over again, whether it be my time in college, thinking about like where I spent my time, where I could have been working, but you're figuring all those things out. And then just asking more questions. I think I just hoped, excuse me, that I would fall into success. Like I grew up around a lot. I didn't grow up around I had every opportunity to be successful, and I watched my granddad and my dad grow this massive thing, but I was still stuck wondering like how did you get there? Like how did you acquire all this wealth and this knowledge? And so there's this massive gap. So for me, I could have taken a better approach trying to close that gap at a younger age versus just being like, it'll work itself out. Like I didn't know how, I'm just going to go work and, hopefully my income increases working a 9 to 5. But now I'm just understanding leverage and, where you can put your money to work. And I had no idea what that was growing up.
Yeah. So basically learning something,
Yeah, just
is
asking
important.
more questions.
Yeah, I love that. Asking more questions. So what is your number one tip on changing the way we think about money?
Uh, my number one tip on changing the way we think about money is that first, it's not ours to begin with. It's a resource that we have to tell what to do versus letting it dictate us. Therefore, uh, like I said, it goes back to that earlier question. I just don't think people do a good enough job telling their money what to do. Like, you are the master of your money. Don't let the money master you because you'll just end up in a place you don't want to be, but you have to master it. Therefore, when you master it, you tell it where to go. Slap it in the face when it's trying to do something out of line. Like, so master your money and it'll, take you to places that you never thought you could go. And it costs you nothing. You just, apply the time and energy towards it.
Yeah, I think that's powerful advice is take control of your money. We so often let money control us and worry about that instead of, like you've been talking about through the whole show, is that there are choices you can make and things you can do. I mean, sometimes you're going to be at the mercy of your money, but you can change a lot of what you do and how you think about it. So, that's wonderful advice. So, Parker, where can people learn more about you and eQRP?
Yeah, you can just go to eqrp.com and you can look us up there. And from there, you can schedule a consult with our team if you're just interested around what does self-directed investing look like. I would argue if you even have the thought there about investing in something outside of Wall Street using your retirement money, then give us a call because there's a high likelihood that you're going to be able to do the thing that you want and get to where you want to get as quickly as possible. And that's why our company exists. So just go to eqrp.com and just schedule some time with us there.
That's cool. Are you active on social media anywhere?
Yep. I'm really active on LinkedIn. That's like my one focus on socials. I use Twitter a lot more for information consumption for myself. So I'm not very active in terms of posting, but I do consume a lot on Twitter. So I am on Twitter too.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't think I've had anybody call it X really. It's still always
Yeah, I mean,
Twitter.
it's understood.
And of course, for everybody watching and listening, as always, there will be links in the show notes to eQRP, to Parker's LinkedIn profile, so you can check it out and see what Parker and eQRP are up to. So, Parker, thanks for joining us today on the Get Ready Money podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was a great conversation, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, this is awesome. And as always, thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of the Get Ready Money podcast. If you learned something today to change the way you think about money, please be sure to subscribe and tell a friend. Until next time, let's change the way we think about money.